All right, so we got everybody back, and guys, we're in good spirits. Obviously they would like to have won the game, but they were good last night, and we had a good workout. And I've seen quite a few of them over there today watching tape. So we're on to the next one. Iowa State could have 3 more wins real easy, as we all know, in this league, and they've been in close games, and so we'll certainly have our work cut out for us. We'll have to really practice well and be able to rush the ball. I continue to say that, but regardless, it's a fact. We have to find ways to rush the football and maintain some on-the-ground yards, and then we've got to improve in the running game. We've got to commit to more of it and play harder up front. And be gap sound and slow down the run. That'll get us back on the field offensively, and then find a way to stay balanced. We all know about their defense. I don't know. I know they're ranked probably in the top 10 in the country in defense, and they're very good on not giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards. So we'll have to work really hard, come up with a good plan. But I'm convinced the guys will commit this week and play hard.
Mike, when you watch the film, specific to the run game, what did you see that maybe you didn't realize on Saturday about what might be holding you back from running it better?
I just think we got some new guys in there that are learning, and we're rotating backs through that are just not getting creases and taking off. We're not getting many like 15 and 20-yard runs. We're getting some 4 and 5s, but we're not getting clear, making a guy miss and getting 12 more. Or bouncing off, or we're not getting a clear run at it. So it's not any one thing, but I had a pretty good idea of what I thought it was, and I was pretty accurate. We just got to get better.
On the offensive side, the first quarter, Dominic had 10 carries for 48 yards. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad quarter. And the first couple of drives, it looked like the run game was in rhythm. Like you said, no chunk runs, but moving the chain runs, yes.
Yeah, so we had 2 turnovers in the first 5 minutes or so, and then they scored off it, and then it became a 3-score game before we knew it. We went for I say 2. Then we had the fumbled snap, and before you know it, it was 24-7, and so now we're not really in a balanced game plan. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Even greater urgency when you looked at the tape on defense. Were there more misfits defensively?
We missed more tackles in that game than we have. Quite honestly, we looked tired, in my opinion. Defensively, we looked tired. We had our head down. We had 2 or 3 fits that could have been better, concept-wise, but we looked tired, in my opinion. We had our head down. We didn't tackle very good.
How do you fix that?
Well, we had to practice. We just don't have as many numbers as we had when we started the year, but we have to find that happy medium of how much to practice, because we got to be sound in all those areas, but also try to keep them from getting fatigued. But when I looked at their computer chip that was in their shoulder pads and looked at the speed of the guys on defense, their speed was less in that game than it has been all year long.
How much did watching the film change your evaluation of Rangel?
I thought he played good, made some plays. Obviously, he had some mistakes, but that's going to happen when you're young. I mean, he had some turnovers and things that were unfortunate, but I like the way he competed, like the way he threw the ball at times.
I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but what the hell has happened?
What's that?
9 days ago, you ranked 8th, and everything's great, and now it's not anybody lose, but you're getting blown out, and it just seems like things have spiraled out of control.
Well, I wouldn't say that. We got some new guys playing. We've got guys that are trying to work into roles that haven't had much experience. We have some key players. I mean, I'm sure you noticed. I'm not trying to be a smartass. We didn't have Spencer. Makes a big difference, So we just had some new guys and just trying to get reps and get them going. But there's nothing spiraling out of control. We just got to keep working. And I think that if you look across the country, you'll see that there's quite a bit of it going on. People around here have gotten accustomed to win a lot of football games, and expecting it to be every week no matter what. And sometimes when it doesn't go that way, everybody's like, what the hell's going on? Which is kind of what your question was. It's a good problem to have. My first few years here, I was wondering what the hell was going on, and we didn't win any.
When's the last time you talked to Spencer about next year? What his plans are for next year?
Not once.
You said in the past, I think I've heard, you said you guys thought he might be back another year. Is that, or
Well, I said he could be. I don't know. I don't talk to players about what their potential NFL thoughts are. That's between them, their family, and their agent. I stay out of it.
Is what he's going through have any bearing, you think, on it? A guy who's been hurt like that and thinks, I got to make some money while I can, that kind of deal. Is it like that for a quarterback as much as a lineman?
You would have to ask him that. I would hate to answer for him. Spencer loves to play football. He's going to compete and play unless he can't compete and play. So you would have to ask him. It would be unfair for me to answer a question related to his future or career, whether it would be at this level or the next level. And when the season's over, I'm sure he'll give you a good answer. But I don't talk to him during the season because it's irrelevant.
If this is it, one more as a follow-up, if this is it for him, the reps you get for Garrett, or Gunner for that matter, become pretty darn important, right? I mean, you've been on this forever. Young quarterbacks need reps, and it takes them a while for it to really click.
That's right, yeah.
So this becomes a pretty big finishing kick specifically for the quarterback position.
Oh, I don't think it's any more than ever. It's the same way it's been around here forever. It's no different, right? When we have a guy move on, we played Spencer when he was a freshman. He was young. We had some growing pains. We played him. We put Mason in early in his career, which I think would have been his sophomore year. He had quite a few growing pains. We go through it. The guy that interestingly, I kind of laugh about it. The guy who didn't have any growing pains was Corn Dog. He threw for 3,500 yards, a whole boatload of touchdowns, and rushed for about 400 yards, and all anybody did was not like him. And he didn't have any growing pains because he had been here 4 years. So what you're saying is true, but we've gone through that with every one of our guys.
If Spencer can't go this weekend, is it Garrett again, or do you do the grading thing with Gunner and Garrett?
We haven't talked about that yet. We could very well do either. Haven't had that discussion.
I know you're not going to talk about Spencer, but do you expect to get him back at some point this season? Do you expect him to play again?
Who's that?
Spencer.
I'm not going to talk about any injuries with anybody. It's not fair. That's a good try, though. I like your thought.
Hey, Mike, is it related to Gunner and Garrett last week? Did they split reps, or when you talked about grading them, were you looking at 50%, 50%, or how'd they do it last week? 50-50?
Is it rare to see it that close between two guys? You mentioned it was a pretty close battle.
No, we've had it before. Gosh, I don't know. Spencer was we graded him like that with him and somebody. Sometimes you see that. Yeah. JW and Clint went through it, and they went back and forth. Clint played, JW played, Clint played, JW played. We've been through that before, so I mean, we could talk about it forever, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to give each one of them a fair chance to go play and see what they can do, because we really never know until they play any games. You go out there and you play, and let's see what you can do in a game situation, and then try to evaluate you and move forward. And JW and Clint was a good example. We went through that for pretty much a full year.
So what was the thing that Garrett did in practice last week that put him ahead of it?
I don't want to talk about any details on personnel decisions that we make in practice or injuries.
If Spencer isn't able to return the rest of the year, did you see enough from Garrett to be comfortable starting him the rest of the year? If Spencer isn't able to return?
Well, first thing is, I'm not going to say we're going to start anybody the rest of the year at any place, but I liked what he did. I liked how he threw the ball, and what I liked is he competed. I thought that was important. Going to make mistakes. I mean, that's just the way it is when you're a freshman, in most cases. Maybe some guys don't. Those guys are usually first-round picks.
Going into the season, it was thought of that you guys had a top 10 defensive line. It seemed like you guys had the depth for injuries and stuff, but last 2 games, 0 sacks, a couple pass hurries. What's happened to the defensive line?
Well, we don't have a lot of same guys. We're playing a lot of different guys, and so, it's just a common sense deal. Those guys go play, they compete, They played hard. I graded effort with every player. Didn't have any issues, but it's just a fact when you have some other guys that are mature and experienced and aren't playing as much due to whatever it could be, then you're going to see some different results. I mean, that's just common sense. That's just what happens.
Is there something they could do differently to get to the quarterback? Is something Derek could do differently to kind of get more pressure on the quarterback with those guys? Because you still got Brock and Colin and Lacey and guys like that out there. Is there something
Yeah, what
different?
about it?
Is there something you see that they think that they can do differently to improve on?
They're trying. They're trying to get to him. There's also a different scenario in the back end going on, right, than we had last year. So quarterbacks might see guys that are available quicker and might not hold the ball, and they don't go down as fast as what happened last year.
I asked Coach Mason about this on Saturday. How difficult is it to, piece together a game plan considering the, surplus of injuries you guys have had along the course of the year this year?
I mean, it's not as fun as when you have all your cards, right? It's like you guys that play PlayStation or whatever those video games are, and when the Patriots went on that run where they won a bunch of Super Bowls and you got to pick the Patriots and you played somebody that was the Browns, you had more fun on that video game than the guy that picked the Browns. So it's not an issue with him. He just has to piece things together based on his availability and go play. See what I'm saying? I mean, the concepts aren't going to change that much. It's just you have different people in places that you've got to try to find ways to put them in a position to be successful, which is a little bit easier. Like we could put Malcolm Rodriguez anywhere. It'd make a difference where we put him. He was fine. But we don't have that luxury now. We're bringing along a young guy, and he needs to be in different spots. And so that's the best example I can give you. We had a lot more flexibility. Right now, we're just trying to bring guys along.
I'm going to ask about trades.
But we should have played better. We should have played much better against the run, 100% on that. Go ahead.
I'll ask about trades just because I saw him after the injury Saturday. He looked broken up, and I know he's been through a lot already. Did you lose him again? Is that Trace Ford Saturday?
Are you talking about injuries?
Yeah. I'm only
You're
asking.
really talking about injuries.
I'm only asking because I saw him and he just was broken, and I felt bad for the kid.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all do, but anytime those guys get an injury, they get a thing on their knee, they get a boot, they're on crutches, that's normal. That's normal for all of them. I mean, Spencer, after the games, he's got a sling. They're always going to be in a protective mode until they know where they're at. We're supposed to find out on most of these guys what would be tomorrow morning. They do all their visits and go see the doctors and MRIs and CAT scans and all that stuff they do today at some time. And then we'll get some news on those guys. But I feel sorry for all of them too. I mean, when they're injured, it's not fun.
Like we talked about the Big 12, no bad teams league this year. But going by the standings, you're entering the easy part of your schedule. You've got all the top teams out of the way. Is this a chance to sort of heal up by playing teams that may be not as good as the ones you've been dealing with?
I'd love to agree with you. I think it has zero at all. We beat Texas, and Texas just beat Kansas State at Kansas State, and Kansas State beat the brakes off us. And it was within 7 days. I mean, you know what I'm saying? West Virginia beat Baylor. So I don't think there's any rhyme or reason for any of it. I think it's all based on focus of the team, each team that's getting prepared to play that week. I think it's based on who some teams have available injury-wise that they don't. I'm going to guess that OU would have played Texas better if they had a quarterback. I mean, I'm just guessing. So I don't think it has to do with anything other than the availability of players on a Saturday and the focus of that team in preparation during the week.
You just said it. But there is one other commonality. All three of the losses were on the road. You get to come back home. Do you see anything within your team or feel like that's going to help at all playing here?
I don't know about the team, but sure hell helps me. I feel a lot better. We need to come home. We need to get in front of this crowd. We need to be in front of the paddle people. We've had great crowd support, great home settings. And there's not any question people like playing at home. You're more comfortable. You know, you're shooting free throws in your own gymnasium. You're better than you are on the road. And so I'm excited for us to be able to play at home.
Military appreciation. You
Yeah.
always like that too.
That's right. Friday isn't Friday Veterans Day? You know, it's interesting when you talk about holidays. I know Clintworth's getting nervous right now because I'm trying to not enter into politics. But this is a good thought. You like older, not older, but veterans. Give this some thought. We have I know Danielle's getting, no, I'm pointing at you. When you went to Booker T, it wasn't even a magnet school, so that's a while.
I saw you play when I was at Booker.
I know, that's why I said you fall in my category. I know Danielle's getting nervous too when I start the political stuff. She's nodding at me. So, okay, we all have different thoughts. We all have different political views. We all have different religions, whatever, across the country. But on one day, everybody should be in support, if you think about it. Because some of us, we have Christmas, some of us have Hanukkah, some of us have whatever. We're all different. But one day, Friday, everybody should be in support, right? When you think about that. That's one day everybody can come together on Veterans Day. That should be a big deal. That's just my opinion. I thought about that this morning driving in. Everybody can come together on Veterans Day if we live in this country. But anyway, let's go to football. That wasn't that bad.
Hey, Mike, when you think about where you are right now and what you're not doing well, I mean, I know injuries have had a part in that, but do you feel like the areas where you're most lacking, you've lost guys in the portal, you've gotten maybe not the right guy out of the portal, recruiting, I mean, I don't know.
We're not big portal people.
I know.
And I'm never going to be a big portal guy. I'm gonna believe in the guys on our team. I'm not saying I'm not against it. I just don't believe in it. I just think that you got to raise the ones you have here. Now, if you get a massive number of injuries at a certain position, or if you have kids portal out on you, which the portal's going to slow down. The portal's going to slow down. I'm going to guess there'll be 80% less kids go in the portal this coming year than were this last year. So it's going to slow down big time. But for us, we just have to look at things and say this is the way it is. Defensively, we're playing with basically a 60 to 65% of our team is a new team, okay? And then we still had some other guys that were veteran guys that were experienced that aren't here. There's one at LSU, there's one at Ohio State, and there's one at Missouri, okay? Those guys aren't here, so that adds up more. So when you have new guys playing, we're trying to adjust. Could we play better? Sure, we could. Does some of the juggling people around because of injuries mess with you? Sure, it does. It's not a secret. Iowa State knows it. They know exactly what we're doing. They know we're struggling to practice with numbers and such. So it's not a secret. But it doesn't matter. We still have a certain number of guys, the question that he just asked, that we've got to put in there. We've got to get them ready. We got to make it simple enough they can run to the ball and play hard on defense. And then offensively, we're juggling some guys around the offensive line, okay? And that's not everybody knows it's not good when that happens. But we've got to put them in a position to be successful. We've got to ask them to go play hard. And then we've got to run through some tackles and make some guys miss to balance our offense so we can throw the ball down the field a little bit. I mean, that's really what it is. It's that simple.
So, I don't remember how many years ago this was, but you had said at some point you switched over how many scholarships you were given to offense and defense. And offensively, you look like at your skill positions you're in pretty good shape, but like you were talking about offensive line, having to move guys around. Have you thought, or maybe you've even done it, given some more scholarships back to the offense?
No,
Okay.
I just think it's important. I thought about it, though, because I've thought about everything, I think. Obviously not enough. Hadn't worked in the last 2 weeks, but a lot of those guys on defense that have scholarships play on special teams. Not very many offensive guys play on special teams. So that number goes up in a big way. When you get deficient numbers-wise with injuries, your special teams is an issue because you don't have guys to put out there to cover. So there's a lot of it going on. But everybody needs to relax. It's fine. Everything's going to be fine. We're bringing along the guys that we get that are available to us each week. And we will discipline them, and we'll train them, and we'll coach them better, and they'll go play hard. And I'm not concerned about that. Now, Are we the same team we were this time of last year? Certainly not. We don't have those guys. And but we've got guys that are giving everything they have, and that's all we can ask. So it'll all be fine. We don't really need to change the concept. We just need to bring along some of these other guys and be a little smarter coaches.
You mentioned guys that have been injured and stuff and come back. Langston Anderson, what, were you?
First time we've had him in what, 6
Yeah.
weeks? Made a couple plays. I told him, people don't really, after the game, everybody's down and pouting and all that. Just think I have to motivate 140 players and 37 personnel on a Sunday, and everybody's pouting. Give that some thought. So I told Langston, I said, hey, look, be careful walking to the bus, because if we can keep you, I'm serious, if we can keep you healthy, you made a few plays for us, it'd be nice to have you next week. That's what we brought him here for. And it's the first time we've gotten that out of him. How many years has he been here? 4? Been here 4 years. First time we've gotten that out of him. He's been healthy and made a few plays. That was nice.
First catch since 2019.
Well, yeah, see, I didn't even know. That's what I'm saying. So it was nice. So
Do these injuries make you want to consider changing
Professions?
off-season?
professions. Go ahead. You look just like the guy in front of you. I'm sorry, but change what?
Does it make you want to change how you do off-season training or the 6 weeks leading up to the football season, or is that
No.
one of the car thoughts you get when you're driving over here? Should
Not
change
one.
anything?
Not one chance. Not changing anything. We're just fine. We've had an unusual number of chronic injuries. It is what it is. The players that are injured don't like it. The coaches don't like it. And fans don't. Nobody likes it. But it's the hand we've been dealt. And so I'm just glad we have a culture that we have in place that we can keep things going. And I was watching closely after the game in the locker room, and I was watching closely on the plane coming home, and I was watching yesterday to make sure that we don't have any uneasiness, saltiness, anger, and the guys are fine. So there's no reason to change something that's been in place for 19 years just because we've had a few things happen. And I want to say this: we can coach better. Okay, I started my meetings with those guys Sunday morning early, and I wasn't. They weren't big Gundy fans when the meetings were over, but that's my job because we have to share the deficiencies with the team. We can't just push it on the team because it's not all the team. We could have coached better, also, and so they need to be able to make adjustments based on the availability of the players that we have. And be reasonable with, okay, here's what we have available. What can they do? I don't care what you know. What can they actually do and function in a game and go run and make a play on either side of the ball? So that's where, as coaches, we got to do a better job. And I do also. I've got to be better.
Bryson Green had a career-high 9 receptions. What have you thought of his performance this far?
He's doing good. And you got to realize, it's basically his first year. I mean, he didn't play enough last year to talk about. He's getting better and better and better. And if we can get some of those guys healthy at his spot and run some of those guys out there like him to where he doesn't have to play 69 plays a game, he's going to even be better. But he's a tough guy, and he loves to compete, and he loves OSU, and he's getting better and better.
Like Iowa State's built a nice defensive culture and reputation, whatever you want to call it, the last 6, 7, 8 years.
I didn't miss.
Iowa State.
What about him?
They built a really nice defensive foundation.
Better than that.
Yeah, whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah.
Is that consistency? Is it scheme? Is it players? What's been their key to becoming such a defensive force?
I think that guy's a heck of a football coach. I think he's really smart. And I think that they built a system. I'm going to go back to, because I'm pretty sure I know why they built it in the research I did. Charlie Strong was the head coach at Texas. They hired a coordinator from Tulsa that used to be in Bryle's system. I don't know names or anything. I don't even know what year that was. That would have been like 16 or something like that. When was he the coach there? Because Herman was after him.
14, 15, 16.
Okay, so 15, 16-ish, he hired an offensive guy from Tulsa who was a Bryles guy.
Sterling Gilbert.
Okay, that might be it. I'm terrible with names and all that. So they hired that guy, and they were doing all that stuff where they run people down the field and all that. And when we saw it on tape later, is when they took that guy and put him in the middle of the field that you see in their defense. And since then, however many years it's been now, 6, 7 years, they haven't budged from it, and they've only gotten better and better and better at it. And there's been a lot of people across the country try to emulate it, try to copy it, even people in this league. And since then, so I don't know him. I just know that obviously he's a smart coach. He knows what he's doing. He hasn't changed much. He's tinkered with it here and there, I think, based on his personnel. And then over the years, they've done some different things to try to improve against where they thought their deficiencies were, but they stayed with their core. And I'm guessing they practice the same thing all the time, would be my guess.
So if you have a young quarterback, maybe you do Saturday, maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. But if you do, what they do defensively, does that mean you have to limit your quarterback?
Somewhat.
Well, you'll give him more than if it was playing somebody else?
I would say not much more than what would be normal. You can only have so much versus what they try to get accomplished defensively anyway. When you play them, it's a more of a reduced package offensively. It always has been. It's in the
If it's Spencer.
yeah.
How long does it take for a quarterback to be able to keep track of that joker, the middle? Because they're used to looking at certain coverages, theirs are all modified because of that extra.
Right. So I would recommend quickly figure that out. But comfortably, it takes a little work because it's an unusual situation. But this goes back to what we talked about. We got to coach them. We got to make sure they're aware of what's going on out there, and we know he's going to be there. He's been there for 7 years, so we have to be aware of where he's at and what he's doing.
You went tempo several times with Rangel Saturday, and it didn't seem to bother him. I mean, I know he made some mistakes, but I don't know if it was because of the pace he was playing.
You talking about playing fast? I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, but-
That's what he's done since he's been here from day one.
Sure, but I just figured his first big college moment, he wanted to take deep breaths, just take it easy. So in other words, is that a sign that he's got it, between his ears,
Well-
to be able to handle that?
It's actually easier for him.
Is that right?
Yeah, because we don't have to do as much. So when we play at that speed, the quarterback either does this or this, and it's over. So actually, it's an easier system than the other part of it for us here.
Is the trick then sort of him just knowing that guys are lined up right, maybe, or not, maybe not noticing when a guy's out of position, things like that? Is that what could potentially slow down a new guy in that type of scenario?
In the tempo
Run
offense?
tempo, yeah.
Nothing, because we get lined up and we snap the ball, and they don't even check everybody else. Everybody else better be lined up. If they're not lined up, we're going to get a penalty because he doesn't have time to check everybody and then pull for the ball. So that's just everybody. They've got to do it.
You've seen a lot of coaches come in and out of the league over your time. Matt Campbell seems to always be a hot name whenever some job opens up somewhere. Are you surprised from the outside looking in that he stayed at Iowa State as long as he has?
Oh, I mean, hard for me. Matt and I have good conversations and we're friends, but we don't talk to each other much. I don't know about his personal life or whatever. It'd be hard for me to answer that, especially since it's been him. But he must like it there. So if all the hearsay's true, I've never asked him about any of it, but if it's all true, obviously he likes it there.
Looking at their offense, obviously a good chunk of their guys are now in the NFL from last year. How different, schematically and personnel-wise, do they look this year as compared to just last year?
The core of it's the same. A little bit different approach based on not having those two guys and then the guy that's playing. I think he plays for the Bears, a running back. Yeah, he's a good player. Same concept, but a little different based on when they had those guys, they could freelance and do some other stuff. But the principles of the pole plays, the tight end, the wing, the change of strength with motions, that's pretty much the same. 8's a good player. I think it's 8. Is it number 8?
Receiver.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah.
Are you surprised, because other people are doing it, TCU's running, they took the guy from Tulsa, they're running the rush 3, drop 8 concept at the 35. K-State is doing it pretty exclusively. Are you surprised somebody hadn't hired Haycock away from Iowa State? Because that's an in-defensive flavor right now.
100%. I'm surprised. Or tried. Maybe he likes, they have beautiful fall, winter grass up there that grows year round. Maybe he just likes it up there. But I am surprised, yes.
Jabbar seems to have played pretty well when he's had to move into that safety spot. What have you thought about him, and what made him the guy for that move?
Well, I'd like to get him back to one spot. He's playing 2 spots in a game, and it's not fair to him. He's playing 79 plays a game, and we need to get him in one spot. And hopefully, if we can get a couple guys back in practice all week, then we can get him located in one spot. But to answer your question, for what we've asked him to do, which is almost unheard of, for a guy to play a nickel safety and play a corner in the same game and know the rules is unfair. But we've had to do that based on what cards we had available. I'd like to get him back to one spot.
Mike, when you had to replace Jim Knowles, you said you wanted somebody to come in and adapt to what you guys were doing rather
Right.
than the opposite.
Right.
Accounting for, I know you had major personnel changes, so you got to change some things, but are you pleased with how much you've maintained the defensive philosophy that you guys have built in the last few
Yeah,
years?
I'd say we're 85%. That's a good number, but I don't know. I'm bad with percentages. That's pretty much, we're doing pretty much the same stuff. Now that's going to vary based on style of offenses we play. I mean, even when Jim was here, what we did, we used some stuff against this team and some stuff you don't use. That's the same. And I'm pleased with the transition and where we're at. But I'm going to go back to what I said. We need to coach them better with the availability that we have, and then we got to get those guys to where they can go run and play fast, not do so much thinking.
Oh,
Yeah,
Coach,
what-
real quick, do you have to alter the practice schedule this week? Do you still have to give them tomorrow off for election day, or do you get to?
No, we have our athletic administration has something set up for them at a later date, Thanksgiving week, when they're not in school. We have something set up for them, and it's funny you mentioned that because I was just going to put out the text this afternoon. They all need to go vote tomorrow about that, but we have something set up for them Thanksgiving week.
And one last thing, Mike, that you mentioned, that you're talking about Brees Hall. You might have been thinking of David Montgomery who's with the Bears. That's the guy right before
Who's Brees
him.
Hall play for?
He's a Jet.
Okay, then that guy, yeah. But the other one was a good player too.
Yeah.
Both of them
But-
were, yeah.
And frankly, Iowa State for a long time, even when they weren't successful, have always usually had a really good tailback.
I know.
And a good running game, similar to what you guys have had over the
Yep.
over the years. How difficult is it to maintain that year after year after year, finding a marquee guy like that?
It's hard. Those guys, I mean, everybody knows. I mean, when you have a guy at that position who has a little maturity and he's potentially good enough to get drafted, your offense is completely different because he can make up for not blocking correctly or a missed block. And I think that the guys that we have in our program a year from now are going to give us that. They're just right now we're not seeing that up to this point. They're learning on the run compared to like what Jalen did last year. He got us, I don't know, 60, 70 yards a game that wasn't blocked in addition to his original 60 or 70. So it made a big difference, but they're hard to find. When you think about it, I don't know the last time, when have we had an in-state, I don't know, 4-star running back or 5, whatever, that people have When's the last time that we've had a high school kid in this state? Just, kind of answering your question. I don't know when the last one was who people regarded as a game changer
Here or in general?
in the state.
Josh Jacobs?
Oh, yeah, well, and nobody even knew about him till the end of the year. Yeah, I sure wish we'd got in on him early. Yeah. He had that capability, but nobody knew about him till the end, yeah. But that one. But other than that, like a preseason,
Very junior. He was probably the last.
that's what I'm saying. And he ended up being an average college player. But and this is a bad example, like Thurman Thomas was highly recruited, Billy Sims, Marcus Dupree, Terry Miller was highly recruited. That kind of guy. I think it's been a long time. They're hard to find. So
Are they hard to spot also? I mean,
yeah.
I don't think you knew what you had when Jalen Warren showed up.
No, we thought we had a reliable 212-pound great kid that would play his butt off, and we could rotate him in and get 8 or 10 snaps a game. That's what we thought. And he came in here and started training with Rob Glass after 6 months or something. We were like, holy smokes, this is a real deal. And we had a home run. We got lucky. Good? All right, guys. Thank you.